Hello, lovely souls. Welcome back to another Bible adventure. Last time, about the story of Jesus, we learned about Jesus' teachings and how he overmultiplied 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes to feed 5,000 people. I hope those words of Jesus have stayed close to your heart. Today, we want to share 2 powerful moments, one sad, one stunning. First, we'll learn about John the Baptist, a brave man who stood for truth, even when it cost him dearly. Then we'll witness something miraculous, Jesus walking on water. These stories might seem different, but both remind us how much God loves us and how we can trust him, no matter what. Ready? Let's step into the story together. John the Baptist was no ordinary messenger. He wore rough clothes and ate simple meals in the desert. But his words were bold and true, because he was calling everyone to prepare for Jesus. When King Herod took his brother's wife, Herod's conscience was pricked, but no one spoke up. Except John. He went right to him and said, "King Herod, you are wrong to live with your brother's wife." The court fell silent. Even though Herod respected John as a wise and holy man, the court gasped at his courage. John wasn't afraid to speak the truth, even when it made powerful people angry. That's real bravery, kids. Imagine standing before someone powerful, telling them what's right, when everyone else stays quiet. That took courage. God honored John's honesty, even though it cost him more than anyone expected. A few days later, Herod threw a grand birthday feast. Kings, princes, and officials filled the halls. The tables were covered with food and sparkling cups. Kids, picture your birthday party, but make it fit for a king, with better dresses, finer foods, and hundreds of guests. Herod was so happy and was marrying. Then Herodias' daughter comes before him, dancing gracefully. Herod was so delighted by his daughter's dancing that he shouted, "Proceed. Ask me for anything, up to half my kingdom, and I'll give it to you." Her daughter's eyes sparkled. She ran to her mother, seeking guidance.
"Ask for the head of John the Baptist, on a platter."
The girl nodded and went back to Herod and told him of her demand.
"Father, may I have the head of John the Baptist?"
Oh, that's whatever you wish.
1,000 thoughts flood Herod's mind. He values John. He fears consequences. But he can't back down in front of his guests. So he nods, pale. Herod didn't want to. John was a righteous man. But pride and pressure made him agree. He sent a guard with orders. The guard enters, and John is taken away. Later, his head is brought on a platter. Herodias receives it, her eyes hard. Herod, however, is silent and troubled. The feast continues, but something has changed forever. Kids, this hurts our hearts. John was killed for telling the truth. Yet God didn't forget him. Sometimes, doing what is right doesn't bring fun or fame. It might hurt, but it shines God's light. John teaches us that speaking the truth is more important than staying safe, even when it's scary. Just like Daniel faced lions, John stood up for what is right, even in the face of danger. That doesn't mean God wasn't with him. In fact, God used John's courage to prepare the world for Jesus. When we choose right, even quietly, God is making a path of truth too. Sometimes, God lets hard things happen, not because he loves us less, but because great stories of faith often grow out of struggle. Like a seed needs pressure to sprout. Remember, God's thoughts are for good, not for evil, Jeremiah 29 verse 11. And when hard things happen, God is still holding us. So be brave, say what is right, even when no one else does. God honors that. Let's take a moment to breathe. Think about John's brave life. His story ends in sadness, but it didn't end in silence. His voice still echoes today. Next, We'll see how Jesus meets his followers in a storm and shows them that even when things get dark, he's closer than we think. Stay close, friends. Now, after the heartbreaking news of John's death, Jesus took time away with his disciples. They climbed into a boat and sailed to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. But the world can turn stormy in a moment, just like its sea. The disciples row hard, waves splash the sides. The sun dips below the horizon. Even though Jesus had calmed thousands before, this time he needed quiet, time to pray, to be alone. So the disciples kept rowing into the night. But around midnight, a storm kicked up, strong winds howled, waves pounded, and the boat rocked.
Master, don't you care that we're going to drown?
I've never seen waves like this. I'm scared.
That night, they struggled for 3 hours, rowing, bailing water, trying not to sink. Fear tightened their hearts. But they saw something on the water, a figure moving toward them.
Is that a ghost?
It looks not like someone walking on water.
It's the Lord. If it is you, tell me to come to you from the water.
Come!
Peter climbed out of the boat. Imagine stepping onto the choppy sea, waves splashing around you, the wind threatening to throw you off balance. But Peter's eyes were set on Jesus. He believed. He took a step, and walked on water too. He walked, for a few glorious steps. But then he noticed the wind and waves. Fear crept in. His focus shifted, and suddenly, he began to sink. Peter's voice trembled as he cried out for help. But before he could sink deeper, Jesus reached out with power and compassion. Jesus stretched out his hand and lifted Peter into the boat. Immediately, the wind died, the waves calmed, and the sea lay smooth like glass. The disciples watched. Overwhelmed by what they had seen, they knew in their hearts truly, he was the Son of God. They worshipped him. They were amazed. Jesus had shown power over nature, something no one else could do. He walked on water. He calmed storms. He saved a friend who doubted. Now what can you learn from this story? Lessons for kids. 1. Focus on Jesus, not the storm. When Peter took his eyes off Jesus and looked at the waves, he started sinking. In our lives, worry, fear, or doubt are like those waves. Keeping our hearts fixed on Jesus helps us stay steady, no matter what storms we face. 2. Jesus is stronger than every storm. The wind and waves stopped when Jesus boarded the boat. No problem is too big for him, school worries, friendship fights, or family troubles. When we invite Jesus into our boat, he brings peace and power. 3. It's okay to get scared, but call out to Jesus. Peter did fall, but he called, "Lord, save me." Jesus was ready, not to scold, but to rescue. Kids, God hears you when you pray in the dark moments. Your heart matters, your cry matters. 4. Trust takes small steps. Peter didn't walk from the boat only because he learned everything was safe. He walked because he took one step in faith. That's brave. Even a little step of trust can lead to miracles. Cross-connection with John the Baptist's death. Before the storm, we spoke of John's sad death. He believed and had courage. He spoke truth to power, even when it cost him his life. That shows us another truth. Sometimes, doing God's will brings hardship. God lets that happen for a bigger purpose, not because he doesn't love us, but because his plan is bigger than we can see. John's story reminds us that courage looks different sometimes. For Daniel, courage saved him from lions. For Jesus, walking on water showed his power. For John, courage meant standing for truth, even in danger. You and I? We can choose courage too, in our small but brave moments. God uses your courage, your story, just as much as he used theirs. A practical example. Imagine you're in a classroom and someone starts making fun of someone quieter. You can choose like Peter, follow the crowd or step out and speak kindness. That's courage. Or maybe you feel afraid to pray out loud at lunch while others tease you. But you quietly pray anyway. That's faithfulness, like Daniel. And each small brave step matters to God. Now the sun is about to rise and Jesus has reached the shore again in his boat, carrying Peter. The disciples stand in quiet amazement and worship. It has been a long, dark night full of sadness and fear, and a reminder of God's faithful power. Let's remember today's big ideas. John the Baptist showed us courage when speaking truth, even when it was risky. Sometimes doing what is right is hard, but God notices. Jesus walked on water, showing his power over storms, and reminding us that faith steps matter. When storms come, and fear floods in, we can call Jesus. He reaches out and saves us. God's power is bigger than any problem, storms, losses, or scary days. This week try something brave in little ways. Maybe speak up for someone treated poorly. Pray when you feel lonely or scared. Share kindness even when it's not popular. Those small brave steps can change hearts. God loves what you offer, even if it feels little. Thank you for joining me today, lovely souls. If this story spoke to your heart, helped you trust Jesus more, click the like button and subscribe so we can share many more stories together. Share this video with a friend or family member who needs a boost of courage. See you next time, where we'll journey further with Jesus or go through another amazing Bible story. Until then, keep stepping out of the boat, keep telling the truth, and keep trusting his power. Bye for now.